drinking coffee at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. All right, guys, we ready? Okay. Today's a culmination of a lot of hard work. I think it truly takes a team of people. Really excited about the players that we added to the team today, and certainly not only the players, but the families, the circle of influence that kind of chose our process, our group of people, our organization, our philosophy, our formula, whatever you want to call it. Just very humbling when a young man and his family makes a decision to join your team and your journey. So we, it's a blessing to welcome a very talented group, in my opinion. I think the personnel department did a really, really good job in this class, top to bottom, of identifying players, and then obviously the recruitment begins and the coaches go to work, our own campus recruiting staff, and their efforts. So this is a team effort. We certainly would not be able to do this without the support of the administration, the resources, Florida Victorious, and their, the efforts that they've put into this, building a system that allows us to be successful in this space. So, time will tell. Obviously somewhere in that top 10 class range. We're very pleased with the group. And I think in general, a lot of people contribute. The operations people contribute, the equipment. We have an incredible group of pilots that fly us all over the country. Our Gator-made staff, I thought, was elite in this cycle. Creative media, video, the academic staff over at the Hawkins Center, they're always on call. We have a great product to sell there, but they've done a great job of connecting with people. A number of professors contribute on official visits, and then you have obviously our university community, Gainesville, a ton of people here contribute to where we're at today. So, these days are a little bit different than they used to be. I can remember when you could only sign 25 and you only had one time a year, and there was much more dramatic. I think now we've got multiple windows to add players. We added a lot of good ones today. I think not only good players, but good people. And good day for the Gators. What questions we got?
The other day you were talking about how, before the FSU game, how winning ultimately is the number one factor in recruiting, or might be.
Yeah.
So how much is the last 3 weeks just meant to where you're at? And how far has this class come just in a few weeks?
Well, I think for the last couple of years, the big pitch is, hey, got to be up for the challenge. Like we have work to do. We came here with the intent of rebuilding the place top to bottom, being a championship contender, getting back to where our team has been in the past. I think we've got a hungry fan base. We've got an administration that's dedicated and committed. And we have a number of investors who've stepped up. So we've improved the player experience here. And I think the missing piece was the on-field, the brand of football, the winning formula, the execution. Hey, that's a brand of football that is effective, and hey, I can develop, I can experience success, and the right kind of kids, they're either up for the challenge and they show up here to do it, or they want to be associated with a winner. So, look, we are not done. Okay, we're just showed promise, and I think that the vote of confidence, the stability. And then how our team competed, you pair that with the hard work of our staff, and I think ultimately that's why we were able to close.
The first player to commit to you in the class of 2025, the first one you announced today. Can you take us a little bit through that process of identifying him and sticking with him throughout that cycle and what you said?
Just leadership, just an incredible story. I love his family. I do think obviously a very historic, storied program. and there's a ton of Gators in Tampa, right? So, and there's been a lot of great Gators right there at Platt High School. So there's some history there and tradition there. And then he was a guy that we identified early. Had him in 7-on-7 camp, documented speed, and a guy that just keeps getting bigger, can run the full route tree. He's a good punt returner, kick returner. And he's been kind of the leader of the group, the steady, consistent voice there, and has stuck with us. So he's got a bright future in front of him, and we're excited about him.
Your top two guys are legacy guys, Fernell Brown and Ben Hanks. Just speak to A, their talent, and B, the importance of that they're, Gators and come from Gator
Yeah,
families.
no, I think we're hitting it just right, where there's going to be a couple of those every year, I'm hopeful. So, look, those two guys, it's in the DNA, and certainly I can respect how they went about the process because they did go visit other places. They did evaluate and compare. And, I think that we worked extremely hard. I think it's important to add players like that to your team because I think they care. I think there's just a little something different about it for them. I'm always looking for that kid that grew up a Gator, that has passion for the place, that has always wanted to play here because I think in crunch time it just means a little bit more to them. So those two fit into that category, and both are fantastic players. I mean, VB3 had a phenomenal year still playing, and then certainly Hanks Jr., 13 picks, Miami-Dade County record. I mean, 6'1", you go back to VB3, the documented speed, the production. So, I mean, both fit exactly what we're looking for, and they're phenomenal kids, and then the family, just salt of the earth people. So both home runs for this class.
DJ having success this year help you guys recruit offensive skill players?
Yeah, no, I think huge piece of the puzzle, probably the biggest piece, truth be known. So just in general, I think the excitement about a good young player who showed promise as a true freshman, and then, his leadership and presence and the way he handles himself, right? His humility, the values, the way he's been raised. I think his perspective, the way he handled getting an opportunity as a young player, the improvement, and I think he showed a ton of promise. So I think it helps with current player retention, but it also certainly these young recruits are just 1 year younger. We all understand the importance of the quarterback in today's game, and certainly we've got a good young one.
The portal has become such a vital part of the recruiting process. How many kids do you anticipate you're going to be looking at to bring in here from the portal, or is that a fluid number that's going to be based on who's available?
Yeah, no, it is fluid. I mean, we certainly have certain positions that are specific, like a lot of it will be based off of player retention. You will find out as we are evaluating the pool of players that are available, we will get a pulse on who we've retained, who we've lost, paired with who we signed today. So each position, we kind of have a quota. Hey, we carry this number of players. We'll be hitting that quota. And the portal, will be the next opportunity to add a player. So I tell Bird Sherrill and our staff in the back that we always anticipate needing one player out of the portal at every position, just in case. You never know what type of attrition you may have. So right now we're evaluating every position, and then we will be strategic about who we bring in for visits. We'll bring in more players for visits this year because there's unlimited number. So and again, we will include our players in that process, right? We will get those players around our veteran leaders. We'll make sure they fit from a cultural standpoint. And obviously, they've got to pass the evaluation physically as well.
Billy, along with the on-field success that the program had over the last 3 weeks to end the season, how much do you feel that, I think you'd said that the negative recruiting that was going on with the program was a big factor for you guys. How much do you think the statement from Scott Strickland kind of clearing the air maybe aided your efforts a little bit as a factor?
Yeah, no, I think the combination of how our players competed and played, right, obviously winning. I think the character that they showed through the tough first month of the season, how they responded, how they continued to fight. I think that spoke the loudest of all. And then obviously for you to get the administration stamp was a big deal. And then you go prove it down the stretch on the field with a couple big wins. And then it's like, okay, you could kind of sense the momentum. I mean, the recruits are observing the players, you know. They see the camaraderie, the morale, the effort, the intensity, the competitive spirit, how hard they're playing, and then ultimately the formula's working. All parts of the team, offense, defense, and special teams having success. And then, you know, this is a game of momentum. You know, I think we've struggled to we've had momentum at times, I would say, in the first 3 years, but we've struggled to keep it, right? I think for the first time we kept it, and today is kind of another step in the right direction.
Is there an advantage or a disadvantage to having the signing day as early as it is? Usually it's like about the third week in December.
Yeah, I think every college football coach in America is celebrating right now. Okay, so I mean, we're getting ready to go into a quiet period. You know, our assistant coaches are going to be here with the players as we prepare for the bowl. We can host visitors, but we're going to be sleeping in our own bed. We're going to be seeing our wife and our kids. We've got the class signed. It didn't present any hurdles in that regard. And we can focus on the portal. We can focus on most important thing is player retention. And then obviously preparing for the bowl game. So I think it's a healthy change to the schedule, and I think it'll improve the quality of life. And it is needed given the playoff dynamic, right? You got this championship game that pole vaults into a 12-team playoff and a number of bowl games. So I think it's a good move for all coaches.
With that being said, coming off a 3-game win streak, and signing day is like 5 days after your last win. How much of an advantage was that as far as you spoke to momentum?
Yeah, no, I think we wouldn't have been able to close it out. You know, I think we've been on the other end of the spectrum for 2 years in a row, right? So I think we know what it's like on the other side. I prefer this way. So, yeah, I mean, I think it affects your ability. You typically win a couple more than you would have recruiting battles. You know, when you're on the other end, you tend to lose a couple. You know, it's a little harder. So, yeah, it's a huge impact for sure.
Vernell Brown. So how quickly can a freshman receiver impact? You know, it used to be, it was difficult, especially the NFL guys would get there, and really that rookie year was kind of like shot. How quickly can a guy impact, and what does he have that maybe will allow him to?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think some players are more ready than others. You know, I learned a long time ago, like you typically you kind of wait and see. You know, some of the guys that maybe you think aren't ready, they end up being ready, and the ones you thought would be ready aren't. But if you were picking one that's probably mature enough, that has the character, the football intelligence, that has the skill set, you know, I think his skill level is up there. And, you know, BB3 is impresses in the 7-on-7 setting and all these combines and camps, but he's good with pads on. You know, that's what I like about him. He probably plays his best ball with helmet and shoulder pads on. So he's a tough kid. He's just very mature, you know, I think as a competitor. Obviously, his dad and his family, their pedigree as athletes. You know, I think there's something there. They've just been competing their whole life. So he'll have every opportunity. He'll be here early. He'll get his reps, and then he'll earn, you know, we're going to play the best players. So.
Return element that he brings.
Yeah, I think punt returner, kick returner. I mean, he's been dynamic in those regards. You know, you think back to Trey Wilson. He played as a rookie, but he was not mid-year. And he had a hamstring issue all that first summer. So receiver, you know, you'd like to build systems on offense and defense where, you know, some of the impact players can play early, running back, receiver, you know, offensive tackle, you know, corner, you know, defensive line. You know, I think your processes and your communicators are the ones where maybe it takes a little time. In linebacker, safety, interior O-line, quarterback, tight end. But you would like to think your system can accommodate a unique skill player.
Do you see him playing that H spot, trying to fill the void DK's leaving?
Yeah, I think position doesn't matter. I mean, we formation and motion we'll get our best guy and their worst guy. So, I mean, I think we just try to get the best couple players out there and get them matched up. So, but DK, we're losing a ton of production at receiver. Badger and DK are walking out the door. So somebody's got to fill that role.
You saw the importance of quarterback depth this year, Trammell Jones, just obviously getting him to flip last month and so forth. What do you see in him and his possible future?
Yeah, I was always impressed with Trammell. Known him since he was very young. He's over here in Friday Night Lights throwing darts. You know, looked like he was 11 years old out there back then. But I've just seen him grow, mature. Love his dad. You know, his dad's got a level head, really smart, you know, kind of a coach on the field. And just the way he led that program, you know, I've seen him in the 7-on-7 setting and then the success the team has had. And he's a leader. You know, the kids around him in the area, across the state, they all respect him. He was dominant in Elite 11, put on a show out there. And, you know, he's a 6-footer, but I think he's a quarterback, you know. So excited about what he brings to the table.
Billy, you guys had a dozen flips in a 2-week span. Have you ever been a part of a run like that where it was strictly flips? And how do you pull something like that off?
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, I don't like it, to be honest with you. I mean, I think I'd like all those guys to commit to us back in June. That would have been a lot better, you know. So, but I mean, we finished second on a lot of them. And I think that the common deal was like, hey, we got to prove it on the field, and then there's got to be some stability. And I think once we proved those things, it led to, hey, that's where we wanted to be. And now we get to do that, you know. So we battled the narrative, and then we obviously didn't help ourselves with how we played in the first month, right? So I think this offseason was challenging to recruit to because of the narrative, you know. And that's no fault of our, you know, we contributed to that, right? So there's nobody's making excuses. We had every right to make that narrative better. And I think we did that the way we played at the end of the season this year. So, I just think a lot of kids that really probably in their gut wanted to come here, they were worried about the future. And then obviously you play well on the field, and that was the missing link, the stability and the product.
And you've talked about how UCF week was kind of a turning point in the football season. Mm-hmm. Was there a certain flip or a certain stretch where you felt like there was a turning point in this recruiting class, whether it was Trammell? Was there a run of commits where you thought, man, this thing might turn, we might start getting them daily?
Yeah.
Maybe after one of the wins, whether it was LSU or...
Yeah, I think we had a really good group of visitors here for the LSU game, and then we had a number of players here for the Ole Miss game. We just kind of set the table, you know. I mean, I think it was there. Big-time players on campus, play well. You know, our fans were incredible, right? I mean, those game day environments were special. And then there's nothing like that swamp, man, you know. And I think just the energy that our kids were playing with and just the overall vibe here was positive, you know. So stability, big wins, you know, in there to feel that momentum. And then I think obviously those were a bunch of guys that we finished second on, right? So I think we were able to turn it around there. Yeah.
Hayward, I mean, he was another one that kind of a late flip. Looks like a big, strong kid at safety, a Georgia kid.
Yeah, good player, man. Yeah, really good player. Plays both ways, plays returner. You know, incredible program. Still playing, you know, playing this week. And, you know, it's a tough place. You know, they lift weights. They practice the right way. I mean, they've had success. It's a winning program, and he's the leader. So 3 hours away in our footprint, and obviously we got him on campus a number of times back in the spring and summer. Came up a little short, and just another one of those guys that we were able to get on campus here the last couple of weeks, and in his heart he knew he wanted to be here. So you got to continue to chip away at these guys that you maybe finish second or third on, and then you can turn it around if you play well.
Jaden Woods.
Yeah.
Any Tyler Miles help there out on the farm?
Jaden Woods is one of my favorites, man. So we evaluated Jaden, really high grade, and then he came on campus with his grandmother in the spring, and then after meeting him, it was just like, okay, that's exactly what we're looking for. He's 40-inch vertical, elite thrower in track. Just some freaky throws, and then 6'3". 235, and like plays stack backer, can rush, will be able to run. He's loose hipped. He can play on special teams, and just a phenomenal human being and worker. Dad played at Kansas State. His grandma reminds me of my grandma. It's all business. Okay. And, we hit it off, and I think we stayed in touch, and, Mike did a good job there, and I think ultimately got him back for a game. And I'm excited about him. He's a special kid.
It looked like he wrestled at 285 one year,
Yeah,
too.
that's right.
I mean, he's got some wild athletic traits.
He's exactly what we're looking for.
What's your sense for how many of these guys you expect to be on campus here in January?
I think it's about 18 guys, if I'm not mistaken. Right now we're at 18. 18 mid-years.
That are coming for size of coaching staff, scholarships, and everything like that, do you anticipate adding more coaches in the next month or so? Because now seems to be the time of this dead period also to address those issues.
Yeah, I think the first thing, the next, agenda that's extremely important is player retention, right? So we'll start dialogue with our current players. That's kind of next on the list, right? So, and then we'll move into bowl prep, and we'll do an exhaustive review of the year and what we need to get better at, and areas where we need to restructure. I do think there's going to be some evolution there in terms of how you format your recruiting and your coaching, because of the new rules with anybody being able to give instruction on the field. I think you can kind of reformat your staff in terms of the coaching part and then the recruiting part, right? So we're in for a little bit of a overhaul in this offseason in terms of how we put that together. And then we'll evaluate. We're going to evaluate everybody and kind of, that typically takes some time, and we'll be intentional about how we do that.
Billy, you've given a lot of credit to, DJ Lagway, your staff, the success of this season and everything, but, you got to pat yourself on the back too, for the successful run. You guys have also, brought in like a top 50 recruiting class and brought it into a top 10. So my question is, like, what was your personal message to these recruits, I guess? Obviously you said you're coming to this program to try to build it and everything, but was there something that you told them specifically on how you could develop them and how they could have a successful career at Florida?
Yeah, I think we ultimately we've built an organization here that's about the person, the student, and the player. And then culturally, I think we're going to teach values. We're going to prioritize education. We believe in our football formula. And then we just try to get really smart people. We try to get people that, are competent, that are experts at what they do. We try to find people that are sincere, that are authentic, that care for people, that can help these guys accomplish their goals and live out their dreams. So, look, we've got to we put together a good group of people, and I think it's, each kid's a little bit different, each family, so we want them to view it as a journey to some degree, like I'm coming to Florida to do it all, not just be there we want them to come here and finish here, right? We're selling a career, a life, we want you to come here. We want you to develop great relationships with your teammates, all the leadership within the organization, all of our alumni, the university community. We want you to have individual success. We want you to have team success. And then, we want you to come back here, bring your family back one day, tell stories about all the things you accomplished. And then it's your home. It's your place. I think today, that's missing a little bit, and I think, I think we're looking for, sometimes kid may be talented, but maybe he doesn't fit. I think you tend to attract what you're selling to some degree, and I think overall that's the intent behind what we're doing. I think overall that's the approach, and still believe in the game and what it can teach. It has become transactional, but we'd like to think that we're not that type of program, that we can still view the game in a certain light. And I still think there's people out there that are looking for that.
Can you break down your offensive and defensive line class and what you like about the signees on both lines of scrimmage that you got?
Yeah, good question. These OLs, I was really excited about all three. I think Medlock is a freak of nature. He's 6'5", heavyweight wrestler, just unique hip, ankle, and knee flexibility. Guy can really run. He plays both ways. I'm not so sure guy couldn't play defense. I mean, he's that athletic. But a guy that really came along, tough blue-collar family. Just unique movements for his size. A guy that can play offensive tackle for you. Dice is a big, powerful, lean, 310-pound guy. Got some position flex. He's 34.5 arms, so he's got some length. So maybe he can play tackle. I think he's got some position flex. He's got power to play guard. Loves football, very motivated. Comes from a winning program, knows how to work. I think Daniel is really one of the freakier guys. He's kind of he's a human forklift. That's kind of how we describe him. We've had a couple guys like him in the past at Louisiana, but 6'4.25", really long, 35 arm, 84 wing, really good bender. He's got good functional movement, extremely smart. Very bright, very knowledgeable about football, knows studies players. And then I like his mom and dad are exceptional. I think they're both educated, both high character. I think he's made of the right stuff. D-line, Big Shivers is, we're losing Big Dez, in Cam. So I think we were looking for a big man in there that could play nose. 4 3/4, 380. I think big, long guy. I mean, when's the last time you seen a 380-pound guy run a 75-yard touchdown? Guys running the ball on Friday nights. Just a big athletic guy. Guy scored 1,400 points in basketball now. I mean, he's an elite basketball player. Dad's, I think just a unique situation there and an athlete. Got a lot of upside. McLeod is a former linebacker that kind of grew into a D lineman body, 2 3/4, 299. Can really run, twitched up, 3-down player, can rush the passer, can play on the edge. Got a motor. And Mbachu, man. Mbachu, I think, is the hidden gem. I mean, put a helmet on for the first time this past spring. 4 3/4, 285, and it's going to be a monster. has been well coached. I think his coaches at the school he went to did a great job. That's one of the better programs in the state. Just accelerated. We kind of found him before he blew up, and then everybody in America came in there and offered him. So great parents, blue-collar parents, working family. Obviously an African kid, and, education's important. Values are important. But, yeah, that was a big win. So, yeah, like the edge players, Wiggins was one of our first commits right there in the backyard in the Panhandle. So he's an extra effort player. He's 4 3/4, 260, extremely long. Also a heck of a baseball player. So just overall good mom and dad. So like all those guys you talked about, Jaden Woods, so I think we got, you think about a couple of these guys we added right before the season. They're almost a part of this class, in my opinion. Enoch, Zandamela, Tavares Brown, Cormani, they're really in this class, to some degree. So we just added them early.
Specialists that you added in this class?
Yeah, that's one of the things that probably nobody wants to talk about. But, go watch the tape of this Evan Noel guy. This guy's hitting 62-yarders off the ground, out here in kicking camp, I think he had a 62-yarder. We called timeout. We double timeouted him out there in the swamp, and he lined up, piped it right down the middle. I don't give many elite grades. He's got an elite grade, so obviously we're extremely excited about Mac and Hayden, and, think we've got specialists are a big piece of the puzzle, and we've seen the value of those over our time here. So credit Coach Houston and Coach Couch and Coach Fletch for going out and recruiting some of the best in the country.
Have you already started your exit interviews, or do you do that after the bowl game with players, or because you talked about player retention, or how do you handle that?
Yeah, we'll start that process here in the next couple of days. Yeah, we get this over with, and then we'll start moving in that direction. So that'll begin here pretty soon.
On the recruiting trail, what's tougher, recruiting the kid or the mom and dad?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think each family's a little bit different, sometimes it's the uncle, the coach. I think you have to identify who's important. I think that's part of being able to figure it out. I think each situation is a little bit different pitch, what's important. I try to ask a lot of questions, try to do a lot of listening. And then not only that, it helps you recruit them, but once they get to your program, it helps you lead them, it helps you keep them on the right track. What's important to them, and then obviously, you feel obligated as a coach to kind of continue what the family has started. So what's the best way to do that, So I think while you're recruiting them, you're getting to know them, and I think all those things add up, once they arrive. But, yeah, you're recruiting any and everybody. I think I used to joke around like you should have a dozen contacts around each kid. If you're doing it the right way, you got 12 people you're talking to, So that used to be my kind of, all right, who are the 12 most important people around the kid? Should be talking to all of them.
So you went to Canada for a punter?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, and he's
Not Australia?
yeah, no, he's a lefty, and even the Crawshaw stamped him at camp, right? So I asked Crawshaw what he thought. He said that lefty from Maine, from Canada. So yeah, I think he's also a really good kicker. He made a 50-something yarder to win a game for his team this past year. So yeah, I love his parents. His parents, ton of sacrifice for him to come to the States and play. Boarding school, ton of sacrifice there for that family. What they did, that whole recruitment of specialists is a gauntlet, right? So for them to just think they're on a mission there to help him, and I think they did that.
There was 6 who aren't coming.
I think there's more than 6.
That aren't coming early.
Yeah, Daniel, Pierre Lewis, Byron Lewis, Muiz, Joseph Mbachu, Miles Johnson.
Also, on just the
Thank
DB
you.
class that Will Harris put together, and saw a lot of checkmates on social media the past few weeks.
Yeah, no, I was very pleased with Hanks Jr., obviously a legacy there. And then the two safeties, I mean, I think those are, on our board, those were top of the board players, so, and those were late additions, so I think anytime that you recover and you go back and get one, it's because you had really good relationships. So those guys are in our footprint, and I think we build enough rapport to where we were able to overcome in the end. So, and hopefully we're not done there at that position. We got a little bit of work left to do.
And then the importance of getting Ty Jackson on this class. I know he was linebacker target that you guys really liked.
Yeah, Ty Jackson's one of the best football players I've watched in my career. I mean, I watched 800 players a year at Louisiana. I watch about 650 here. I mean, the guy's one of the best. His junior film is probably one of the best football players I've ever seen. So, and he keeps getting bigger. I remember when he was in camp, he was like 197 pounds. And he just keeps getting bigger. But, I mean, legit track speed, plays receiver, returner, and just accelerates through contact. Unique play strength for a guy who maybe doesn't have the bulk. And his mom and dad are incredible. Although his mom, I'm not going to say that. But, yeah, just – we had a great relationship throughout the recruiting process. I mean, I had more fun recruiting him and getting to know his parents. They were awesome. So, yeah, that was a big one.
Was that one where you guys just kept the communication going, never stopped talking?
Absolutely. I wanted that one.
Just want to ask here, do you expect anyone else here? Or do you believe that this is the class for the other signing period?
No, there's a couple still out there, yeah. Maybe not today, but maybe, as time goes.
For the guys who maybe didn't flip, who you guys tried to flip, how important was the opportunity to build relationships with those guys, just with the landscape of college football and the opportunity to maybe recruit them again down the line?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you just do your best, and I think nowadays there's a lot of variables, right, that you can't control, right? So I think for me, what I've learned is just keep moving. I've joked around with you guys about this before. It's like being in the major leagues, right? Bat 300 is pretty good, right? So you just got to you can't waste any time on it. You just go to the next one, So there's a bunch of good players out there. It's important to get 25 or so that are good enough. There's lots of ways to add players to your team now, right? So it's just a different era. You just got to continue to evaluate, continue to recruit, get the best 105 you can get. And then I think for me, you can spend your time on building culture within the building, working on your processes, your systems. I think the landscape has settled down a little bit. I'm excited about rev share. I think just in general, we have a system built now that we didn't have when we showed up. It didn't exist, right? So now we're much more efficient with our time, and we can focus on keep the main thing the main thing.
Is there an element of maybe this being kind of foundational in developing relationships with guys who aren't part of this class, who may end up in the portal, like a Pup Howard, who you can circle back with and you had a relationship with?
100%. Don't burn any bridges. And look, some of these situations you understand why, it's just like, hey, I get it, I think, you just got to end up with enough at each position, so, it is what it is, right? So, I don't think you can, it's not that, big of a deal,
Does it mean anything to you be a top 10 class Does that?
Well, I mean,
that-
time will tell if it's a top 10 class.
But
yeah.
it being in the rankings, does that matter to you? Is it
Yeah,
kind of cool?
it absolutely matters. I mean, I think the rankings are probably more accurate than they've ever been, in my opinion. I mean, now, you go back 15 years, it used to be a joke, but I do think now there's more exposure. They hire good people. They have educated people that have a real opinion. They don't always get it right, but, we'll see. But I do think we've proved that we can evaluate players, right? So ultimately, how many of these guys stick? Will they develop? Are they good people? Can they do it? Can they be consistent? I think the intangibles will decide how far they go, right? So the recruitment is over. Now we're into the development phase, right? So, hopefully we got a bunch of height, length, and speed and intelligence, and now we got to work on all the other stuff.
You guys had a lot of flips down the stretch. You also didn't have any attrition from your class. How gratifying was that with the schools that were coming after some of your commits that everybody stuck?
Yeah, I mean, I think I view it the same way. I mean, the commitment these days, I think these guys committed today. That's what I would say, So ultimately, that's, today they committed, right? So, and obviously, the work begins now, right? So that's the thing to understand here. Like, this is all fun and games, right? But I mean, the work begins now, right? So they'll get here, and then we'll plug them in, and we'll go to work.
One more quick injury thing. I mean, Trey Wilson, how's he coming along from his off-season surgery? And
Yeah.
how excited is he for, working with DJ when he does get healthy?
Yeah, he's doing great. He's doing really good. He's out of the brace. He's walking around in normal. That's about a 4-month recovery. So he'll be back in full speed here shortly. So